what's up? This is Jeramie Kling from Venom Inc., Massacre, The Absence, many, many more, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
Good. How are you today, man?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good so far.
I've got my partner Chris on the line. Say hello, Chris.
How you doing, man? Yeah, I'm doing good. Are you guys down in Tampa?
Yeah. Well, I'm about 45 minutes north of Tampa, northwest. I'm in Spring Hill.
Is it hot as fuck down there right now?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the same temperature that Michigan and Pennsylvania are both like 96 and 97 right now. So we're about that, but the thing that makes us a bit different is we have Florida man here, and that's stressful. And then also we have like 80% humidity, so that's pretty fucking hot. But
so that's like DC then, where I am. It's fucking hot as shit.
yeah. It's like common. It's like what I found whenever I moved here. It was like, Florida's so hot. I'm like, not really. I mean, it's pretty on par with everywhere else, but we just have more humidity, and Northerners have a real hard time with humidity. And I'm like the direct opposite. Like, I don't know. I like the humidity. I'm like, fucking bring it on, whatever.
I agree. I spent about 15 years down in St. Pete, and I loved it too. I miss it, actually.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I like when it's a wet heat, I guess. I mean, call me crazy, but the dry heat thing, like, I've been a touring musician for 15 years now, and then like everyone's like, oh, this is a nicer heat, it's a dry heat, and I'm like, this fucking heat sucks, man. Like, it's cracking, and I think my eyeballs are gonna dry up and just turn into sand. I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, and I have psoriasis, which is basically like, I mean, it's pretty common, but it's like eczema, like dry skin, and when I'm in that type of weather, when I'm in just an all solid dry, like my skin starts to just literally crack and peel. You know, it's pretty bad.
Damn.
How are you guys? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just saying, how are you guys in the absence dealing with all this nonsense and not being able to be on the road? Because this is prime festival season, right?
You know, it's hard for all the bands. It's hard for Massacre, it's hard for Venom, it's hard for the Absence. I mean, this year was such a big... Okay, I've worked my whole life to be where I'm at, right, as most of us do. And this year was going to be... I've worked a long time to get a build, and this was a big build year, and then it just went... Nope. So,
yeah.
It kind of... And it didn't just fuck me. I mean, I know that. I know it's true to everybody globally, so we're all feeling the pinch. But just for me in particular, it was like, oh, man, I spent such a long time to get here, and then, then it's fucking, backseated for an entire year. But, I mean, what do you do? It's good. I mean, a lot of good came from it, and a lot of positive stuff has come out of it. So I've worked more in my studio. I've worked more around my yard, which needed to be done, and
right.
I got a lot of home projects done, which needed to be done, and I've been able to just spend time with my kids, which I've been home an unprecedented amount of time.
Sure.
I mean, since I haven't been sick of you yet. No, hell no. No. Yeah, I've never in my career have I been home this much. By the time I play a show again in February, it's 1 year that it was actually a year and a half that I was home. I mean, technically I just had a three-day tour with Massacre in Germany in January, and then I had a two-show 4-day trip to South America with Massacre. Other than that, I hadn't been. I played Bakken with Venom, so that was already a year ago now.
Oh wow!
So I technically haven't. I haven't done any touring. I haven't done any touring in about almost a year now, and then by the time I get back to playing, it'll be a year and a half of, like, proper touring that I've done. So,
Right.
it's crazy.
Did you guys in the absence do anything, or are you doing anything different to engage with your fans? Like, I know a lot of people are doing live streams or Q&As or all kinds of different things are coming about. Are you guys doing anything like that?
My bass player, Mike Leon, he's doing the Twitch thing pretty regularly now, and he hangs out with, we have homies all over the place, a bunch of different bands and stuff, and I know that, like Pete from Havoc is like tuning in, and Pete has his own Twitch thing, and Mike's going in there and get Pete to play Absence songs, and because Pete filled in for me when I had my youngest daughter.
Right.
He filled in on a tour for me. It was the Absences on the Evergrade tour with Sabaton.
Okay.
And that was my youngest daughter turns 9 this September, so that was 9 years ago that Pete filled in. So, anyways, Mike's doing that. We've been just posting more to try and engage, but much like everybody's doing that. So then it just kind of it's just inundated, But Taylor and I from the Absence, and he's also a master with me, and then a million other bands that we're in together. We did this quarantine project where it was whenever it was at the early onset of this thing, and like this just kind of gives you an explanation of what kind of psychotic people him and I are. He was sitting there. It was like 9:30 in the morning, 10 in the morning. We're having a coffee like now, and then I get a hair up my ass. Like, dude, we should totally. This is where all that where all like bands start with him and I'm like, we should totally write a song today. I was like, soup to nuts. I was like, write the song, record the song, release the song online. He goes, okay. I was like, we have to live stream, so we have to hold ourselves accountable, So,
right.
So we can't let people down, though, so we don't look like dinguses. And he was like, all right. Well, what kind of stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. You want to do a this style song or this style song? He's like, dude, we should totally do a Slam Saturday. I was like, ooh. I was like, Slam. I was like Suffocation. He was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh my god, yeah. So at that moment, we live streamed and we said all this garbage that we were gonna do, and a bunch of people were like, you guys are crazy. And I was like, yeah, heck yeah. And then so he turned around, he wrote guitar, and then he recorded it while we wrote it, and then my drums were already set up in mic, so because we were tracking. I think we had just tracked the Venom Inc. record, or we were about to track it, or no, we had just tracked it. We had finished tracking it. That's it. So I went ahead and I wrote the drums, boom, done, and then he wrote the bass and played the bass, and then we collectively, myself, him, and my wife, were just bouncing lyrical ideas back and forth and all like kind of group writing, and then I just sang on it, and then I mixed it, mastered it, and put it online, and everybody was like, "Holy shit!" They're like, "This is a good song," and it was like, "Oh well, I mean, thank you." But, of course, we always try, we try to make something like good, and we did a whole song and blah blah. We posted, and everybody was like, "Wow, this is great." And then Taylor and I were like, well, we should do on Monday, so we gave ourselves a day off. We're like, on Monday, we should do like a HM2 worship style band, like Grave or, something of the sort, or like Bloodbath or something like that. So we wrote the singer for Entrails, because we've done tour with them, Pontus, and we also wrote our buddy Johnny Pedersen, who is, he plays in a shitload of bands, like Head's Been Dead and Woombath, which Taylor and I were both in Woombath at one point. So we wrote him, and we're like, hey man, will you play bass? And Pontus agreed to do vocals. So it was like, okay, but the trick is, we have to record this and send this to you within one day, and you have to record and send it back, and then we'll mix it and put it online, which is a little tricky because Sweden is 7 hours ahead of us.
So you're cutting yourself short already.
What's that?
So you were cutting yourself short on time already.
Oh yeah, we were automatically like injuring ourselves. But it was like, yeah, okay, let's fucking do it. And they were interested, so we did the same thing again. We were like, hey, we're gonna do a Swedish death metal, and everyone's like, oh, can't wait for this, right? You know, and we did it. I made a little album cover for it, and then we mixed it, mastered it, put it online, and then boom, here we go.
Wow.
And then it was like, wow, okay. And people were like, I really like the first song you guys did, but this is insane. This song is really good. And we're like, oh wow, thank you. You know, again, because we're like, we always hope that anybody gets a shit about anything. You know, that's the hope as musicians or artists, period. They're like, I mean, I hope someone likes it. You know, I hope
Right.
it does something for them. And we realized that was a success. But then we got there's actually a piece of, my wife's an artist and a photographer, a very multi-talented. And we got I took one of her old like pieces of art that she wasn't using anymore. That was just kind of like a scratch art, you know, type deal. But it was a big piece of paper, and I wrote on the back of it. And we wrote down all the different styles. We made like a storyboard of all the different styles that we wanted to do, and then we wrote a list of potential musicians. And then we reached out to all those potential musicians, and the ones that agreed, we wrote in a separate list. And then once they agreed, then we started pairing them to the songs. And we ended up doing 12 songs like that.
Wow.
12 songs total. All in one day. Soup to nuts. And we did we did a Gothenburg style, like an In Flames song. We did a Porta Death Metal song, which was, if you think like Cannibal Corpse, if they put out The Bleeding immediately after The Bleeding, that's like the next record. And we had, which is cool because it allowed us stylistically to completely rip off bands that we wanted to, you know, that we wanted to emulate. But it was like free creative license to like jump in their shoes and you know, drive around in their car. And man, we did a Motorhead song. The singer for Venom Inc., Tony Dolan, he sang on that song. It's fucking awesome. The bass player from Mutoid Man, Nick, who is like I respect that dude's bass playing like From Here to the Moon and Back. And we asked him, he's like, hell yeah, he's like super down to do it all in one day. And we just made a Motorhead song, and that's like one of my favorite damn tunes ever. And we wrote it in a day. We just, you know, kind of were able to jump in all these different bones. So while the long and the short answer for that is, while the absence itself hasn't been like, you know, sexually active online, most of us members have been doing stuff and keeping vibes going and keeping the thought process going, you know. And during all this, we shot 2 music videos and we did a couple photo shoots too.
Oh, okay.
The music is being mixed currently at Fascination Street in Sweden, and it's great, man. It's all. I'm really proud of this record. I mean, I know that every band says that, you know, their newest album is their best, but I really do think that in this case, like, it's the monster that the absence is growing into. It's in its maturity phase, which is pretty awesome. And I'm happy that we're here. You know, I'm happy that we made it. I'm happy that we made it this far, because a lot of bands don't even have that opportunity, and you never get to hear them. You know, you don't get to hear them grow and turn into whatever they're going to be. You know, you only hear the onset. You know, and that's where those demo tape guys are sitting there with their arms crossed and their receding hairline, and they're like, I only listen to that, only the demo. It's like, oh well, okay. I mean, I get it. Like, I mean, I like bands first shit, but, you know, I also like what bands turn into. Like, one of my favorite bands ever, Cave In, is, if you listen to their first record and their second record, by the time their third one hit, they turn into, like, space rock. They go from, like, metal to, like, space rock. And that's one of my favorite records ever, period.
Right.
And then the next record they put out was, like, elevator music. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fucking weird. Then they put out some weird acoustic records. And then they put out some other, like a poppier rock stuff. And like as they progress as musicians, you can hear them being them. But you know, they just are ever changing. You know, so I don't know.
Do you think that's because they're trying to change their music, and do their fans stay with them, or do they not just give a fuck at all and they just do what they want to do and hope their fans come along for the ride?
I think in particular, Caven never gave a fuck. I think they never gave a fuck. Now, with the Absence, we do give a fuck about that, and I personally, my mission statement is, this band is not a black metal band.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we put out let's say like a Dimmu Borgir style black metal record, everyone would be like, what the hell? You're alienating all of your melodic death metal fans, which we're actually now calling the Absence, we're calling it Death Metal Evolved, because, I mean, it is death metal. It's very melodic, but then again, so is Deicide. But, you know,
right.
I guess that's arguable. So, we're just saying Death Metal Evolved, but, you know, that band, The Absence, isn't a black metal record. If we put one out, people would be like, oh, okay, so you guys are just genre hopping. You know, so I made a black metal band because I wanted to play black metal.
Right.
Just because I was like, I want to throw that suit on and just see what it's like, you know, and then, because, I mean, I listen to a lot of it anyways, man. I listen to a lot. And, a lot goes into this band to keep it sounding how, you know, it's got to have that vibe and it's got to have that same feel. And if it doesn't, then it's a different band. So at that point, then we should change the band name or, you know, do away with riff, which is pretty cool because you can have like elements that pop in and out now. So you can, like, we have one of our singles that's going to be coming up off this record. It's called, well, I can't talk about the name of it yet. Bad Panda. Okay, but one of the singles that's going to be released has like a bit of like an air of black metal. The whole thing itself, by and large, is not black metal, but it has tinges of it, which is cool because that shows growth and that shows maturity and that shows us bringing our outside influences into what our idea of the band is.
Right. Chris?
Which is cool. I mean, that's creative liberty.
I agree.
Did I hear you say that Jen Borgir is mixing the record for you guys?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he's going to be mastering it, and Ricardo Borges, Ricardo, I love that dude. He has a name that is like 7 different names together. It's like Ricardo, he's just a bunch of names. I don't want to botch it for him because he's a great guy, and I don't want to fuck his name up, but it's a very long name. And I'm like, what's your email address? And I went to go email him. He goes, it's my entire name. I was like, oh, fuck's sake, that's not convenient. I'm like, what do I call you? He's like, Ricardo. I was like, oh, shit. I thought, it's like Ricardo, George, something, you know. Anyways, but Ricardo is actually doing the brunt of the mixing, but Jens is there, and he is overseeing the mix, and then Jens will be mastering the record.
Well, Fascination Street has put out so many high-end records that just sound pummeling, to say the least.
Let me tell you about like the height of flattery that happened with this. Is they reached out to us and said, "Hey, we just recorded the new Insomnium record, and we want to have more melodic death metal in our library." And many people directed us to you, and then we all listened to it, and we're floored to hear that you guys were from Florida. And it was like, oh shit! Because Taylor and I were going to mix it. We have a studio here, and it's a very complex record, and every song is not the same. It's not. You can't like puppy mill this record out. You can't just like import session data and roll with it, and then you're good to go. It's not going to work that way. You need to. It requires more time and effort. And so we were just going to do it because I know how the fucking shit sounds. I know exactly how it should sound because we wrote it. So I know what it needs to, what it takes, and what needs to be accented, and what needs to be featured, and what could stand to be, you know, put in like the back burner a little bit, you know, for section. So they wrote us that, and I was like, wow. I mean, that's fucking awesome. But I was like, that's interesting, man. I was like, okay. I was like, well, let me be honest with you. We just planned on mixing it ourselves, and here's the reason. And he's like, wow, that's really cool. He's like, Ricardo was like, I really want to do this record. I really do. He's like, and we will take the time and we will make it sound how it needs to sound. That's no pressure. I was like, wow, dude. All right. Then you know what? I think you got the job. Let me talk to the guys. And then we talked, and then it was like, let's have him do a test mix. We sent him over a test mix, and it was like, yeah. We sent him over a session of mix, and he mixed it up, and it was like, hell yeah, let's go ahead and go with that direction. So
nice.
Now we're on board with Fascination Street, which is pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, they besides Andy Sneap, I mean, they are the metal studio in the world.
Oh yeah,
really.
That's it, man. That is it. They are crushing it. They were crushing it, and it was pretty cool. It's like, well, we had no intention of working with them. I mean, we did them the Gift of the Obsessed record. We David Castillo. So he runs Ghost Board, but Ghost Board is kind of Fascination Street as well, because it's Jen doesn't have a drum room, so he uses David's drum room in Stockholm at Ghost Board. But it's also like Jen dumps a lot of money into, and there's like a Fascination Street sign that's there, even though it's Ghost Board Studios. So anyway, so we didn't have a plan. We were actually just gonna, save some money, and I was gonna do it, And anyway, it just came down to pipes totally different. So we're like, okay, well, here we are.
It's 2020. Who knows what's gonna happen?
yeah. Well, then all this shit hit and screwed everything up. But what do you do, man? I had 12 trips to Europe, all booked. I had such a stacked year, and then it just all went away. But boo-hoo, tears in my beer about it. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah. When can we expect to hear the new record?
I mean, shit. It's basically done. It's basically done. But because of COVID, we're gonna have everything's being pushed back until 2021. I think globally, no one wants to put out a record and not be able to do any type of touring. So
yeah,
that's what happened with Hatebreed. They held their tour and their record, and it's all. I'm really surprised that Sepultura still put their record out. That was a bold move, because that kind of like that kills all momentum you have. Kills all momentum.
Yeah, because then it's done. You got to sit and wait.
Yeah, then you got to sit and wait, and you can't post the content, or you can't post the tours, and you can't. The hype machine comes to a grinding halt.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many records come out during COVID, and they just kind of come out and go away.
Yep. And that's regular. I mean, like, no one even knows that we did that quarantine project. It's like it's not really like a thing. But hang on, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I switched to my wireless headphones. Yeah, I mean that project is no one even knows about it because we're like months away from that, so no one has there's no memory. I mean, unless you say something fucked up, then there's memory. But
right.
I'm going to go search for it after we're done podcasting today.
Yeah,
I want to see it in real time.
Yeah, go for it. It's on Bandcamp. Type in Smoke and Mirrors Productions and go to the Bandcamp, and you can check out all the songs. And I think they're in order. There's a really killer doom style song. It's sort of like Black Sabbath that we did with my wife. She sings, and we have a doom band called Nil, and this is basically like a Nil song, but we just did it. And man, I listen to that now, and I'm like so proud of that. I'm so proud of that song. I'm so proud of all those songs in there. We do like a Bay Area style thrash song, and we do a hardcore song. We do just a bunch of different stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Like a Judas Priest style song. I actually got the whole project signed to Nuclear Blast subsidiary digital only label Blood Blast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we'll be releasing it properly digitally in about a month. But that's what I'm saying. Like unless you have someone like pushing, it's kind of like everything is like dead in the water. If you can't tour, then that's most of the shock and awe or the flash.
Right.
That's the documentable content that people want to see.
And where you make your money too.
That's where you make your money. Hell yeah.
Yep.
I mean, shit, you make it on tour. And everyone knows that. So if you can't tour, you put a record out. Like, I feel bad for my homies in Warbringer. They have a really great record. They put this record out, and you can't tour. So, I mean, you put that record out and you go on tour with Megadeth, everybody sees you,
Right.
So, I mean, people get eyes on it, and then they get eyes on the record,
And the merch.
I'm sure that record... Sorry, go ahead.
And the merch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that too, that aside, but, your album cycle has been very important, especially in today's times. I mean, everybody's attention span is like, Vine or TikTok.
Uh-huh.
You got to get it done in 7 seconds, or else, they've moved on.
I think it's going to get worse after COVID because everyone they went from human interaction to the only thing they have now is just digital,
Yeah.
It's like, so now they could be like talking to 5 people at one time and having separate conversations and, I don't know if connection's the right word because I've connected probably more with people through this, but like the attention to one thing is not going to be the same as it was after this, I don't think.
This is going to fuck up a lot of stuff, and we don't even know we have no idea what the wake of this shift is. We have no idea. We can't even see the wake. We don't know. We have no idea. It's going to be interesting. I'll say that. It's going to be interesting. Like the world has forever changed. Like, I mean, I used to only see masks on people when I went to Japan. And usually it was Japanese people at airports you'd see them with masks. Now everybody has a mask. It's status quo.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's good to hear because that's good to hear.
Yeah, it is good to hear. But that's not going to go away. I mean, we're going to be 5 years down the road, and there's going to be John Q. Public is still going to be wearing masks. A lot of people. That's at least my thought process. I don't think that's going to go away. So we'll see people with masks, which is a good thing because they keep themselves. And another positive I think is people are now more militant about being cleaner in public.
Yes.
And thinking about being clean in public, which is something that has lacked for sure. I mean, this will cut down the common cold. This will cut down the common cold numbers if everybody's like militantly cleaning their hands and wearing masks. Like if I'm sick in public, I'll wear a mask for the rest of my life. I'll wear a mask now.
I won't think about it either.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw it on. But before, that wasn't even in the playbook.
Right.
It wasn't like, I'll throw a mask on to go to the store because I have to get cucumbers for the salad that I'm making for this party that I have happening today. I need chicken wings too, so I'll get those. And then I'm like around touching shit. Now I will be more mindful. I'll throw a mask on and be like, oh, okay, I'll keep my hands clean. That way I don't cross-contaminate anything. This teaches us all to just be better people, which is good, but I foresee people are still going to be wearing masks, and I don't know, man, I wonder what's going to happen when the floodgates open back up. I really do wonder what's going to happen. I mean, it's one sign of, like, a COVID outbreak, and then it all goes back into the...
Yep.
It all goes back into the stop.
What's it like where you are? Like, I know in South Florida, it's, like, totally fucked. I have friends down there, and they're just like, it's fucked. But,
well, it's fine here. It's pretty much business as usual. I mean, there's no... You go to the store, we take our kids, no one touches anything, which is great because, I mean, my kids are... between my wife and I, we have 5 and 2 grandchildren. and we have 20. Our oldest son is 14. Our other son just turned 12 yesterday. Our next daughter is 9, about to be 10, and then we have 8, about to be 9. So they're pretty good about not touching anything, but we don't have like babies or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah. So no one's. It's kind of like business as usual, But I can't. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how in 6 months they think everything is going to go back to like shows and stuff. I mean, I'll be stoked. I'll be stoked when it does happen, of course. But I'm not sure. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, Spain's still in like UK. I just read that UK and Spain are in like a stalemate lockdown, and Spain has spiking cases, and it's like, well, shit, it's already been like 4 to 5 months. where are we at?
Right.
There's going to be at a year from like a year
Until there's a vaccine, I don't see it getting back to any kind of normal, really.
Yeah.
Like in Canada, it's starting to. Where I'm from, I live in DC now, but in Canada, it's getting back to normal. But there's no shows.
No, we won't see that for a while.
Yeah. And Canada only has yesterday they had 300 cases for the whole country. So, and 11 dead. So it's like they have it fairly under control, but they're not taking any chances at all. They're just there's no shows. Clubs are open, but no clubs or anything like that.
Yes, and I've got a couple. When you do this job, you start to make friends with these people who are club owners or bar owners, and I've seen a couple of my friends fall. And I got a couple of my friends that are squeaking by and making it work, and I don't know how they're doing it, but
yeah.
I personally think there needs to be a stimulus package for live music venues. There really does, because without them, the culture of music will be lost.
Yep, I think you're right.
Yeah.
You know what? Now that you mentioned it, I've got one more, and it probably will be a long one, but let's see if we can keep it on the shorter end. Did you ever imagine that you'd still be doing this so many years later with so many of these massive bands?
Did I think that? I mean, a part of me always knew I would be in the music industry, and that's going back when I was 16. I didn't know where my footprint would lie. I had no idea. I was a pretty confident young guy. So when I was 20, I was pretty much I joined the Absence, and I knew that band was different. I knew it was different. I had jammed in a couple other local bands, and we did stuff, and then the Absence was a local band, but when I joined them, I knew it was different. And that came with a whole special feeling that it gave me of okay. But, I rode that wave, and then after 3 years, I found myself needing to work, and then I started crewing.
Right.
I started drum teching, and then I started doing the drum teching led to. I had a buddy of mine got me a job tour managing, and I had never done that before. But that was my first time tour managing. The whole time I had owned a studio, and I understood the board, and then I got a job monitoring, and then I got a job doing monitors professionally, and then I got a job doing front of house.
Right.
Which, I mean, I had tinkered with that locally and done some work locally, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and then all of a sudden, I was a behind the scenes worker, which was really rad, and I got myself up to being a tour manager and front of house engineer for Sepultura,
right?
Front of house engineer for Exodus. Yeah, I mean the list is crazy, and I look back at it, I'm like, I don't know how any of that happened. If I'm being honest, it just all kind of I never foresaw me being a crew guy. I mean, we all dream of being the musician, which is, here's an interesting, I'm real chatty today, but.
No, I love it. We got some great content. We have a whole lineup, so I don't mean to rush you, but we've got everybody backed up today.
It's okay. So the dream is to play music, right? And I was out doing front of house for Benhaming, and we were on tour, and I got along great with those guys. Long story short, Abaddon leaves, and here's where the flattery punches you in the face like a brick. It was between me and Tom Hunting to get the drum gig.
Oh, from Exodus.
I'm like, oh no, really, Tom? I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh god, really? And they're like, yeah, but we've toured with you, and we really like you, and we jam with you on stage, and we wanna take you on we're doing our first tour without Abaddon. I'm like, okay. And it was in Europe with Suffocation to support, and it was like, oh fuck, I bought Pierce from Within when I was 13. Okay, sure, and here I am like a fan, and Suffocation's opening for me, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
So 20-year-old you was jumping up and down.
Oh, dude, 20-year-old me, 25-year-old me, 30-year-old me, 35-year-old me, all those me's were all jumping up and down. And so I toured with them for 2 years straight. Okay, so I stopped crewing then, is what I'm saying. And I had crewed for almost a decade. I was a crew member for almost a decade. And I was actually at the point where I'm like, I'm going to stop trying to... I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to stop trying to make it with the absence. I'm going to focus on, make it. I'm doing the Ronald Reagan finger quote. I'm going to stop trying to make that my main MO. I'm going to reel back from playing a bit, and I'm going to buy a board, and I'm going to be a front of house engineer, because I really enjoyed mixing.
Right.
I really enjoy that thoroughly. It's a great job, and I love it, because you're in control of so much emotion. And yeah, anyways, so I was at that point, and then I got the call. I literally got the call. John Zazula called me and gave me the opportunity, and I was like, okay, Johnny Z, oh my god, all right, bud. So I go out with him for 2 years, and then I had some friends of mine hit me up, and they're like, Warbringer and Enforcer, and they're like, hey, we're doing a U.S. tour. Carlos, the drummer, hit me up, was like, hey, I'd love to hire you to do front of house. So I was like, I haven't done front of house in a couple of years. Yeah, that'd be really great. What are the dates? And they had some long 54-date tour, and I'm like, I can't do that. Sorry, guys. I was like, the first half of that, I'm actually on a vacation with my wife, so I won't be able to do that. And they're like, oh, okay, well, if your mind changes, or if that was actually it. It was like, okay. It was like, okay, well, see you. And I'm like, okay, bye. And then a couple weeks later, it was like, what if we brought a guy up until you were available?
Oh my god.
And I was like, oh, it's like that. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do half the tour. So I did half the tour. And when I say half the tour, it was 33 days with no days off. Wow. They did 54 days in a row straight, no days off. And the guitar player for Warbringer, Chase, he was playing bass in Enforcer. So by the end of that tour, he had 108 shows in a row. Oh my god. Nuts, right? I'm like, woo, someone get this man a drink. I'm gonna get a nice voice must have been just trash. Yeah. Man. So, anyways, the long and the short of that is the dream is to play music. And I played music, and right before that, I went on tour with those guys. I did Hellfest, and I did Wacken, and those were the big ones. And then this was actually my last tour that I did, but I was a crew member. And I went out with those guys, and I went out with those guys, and I enjoyed it. And I found myself enjoying it more than even playing. So I don't think the dream for me is to play. I think the dream, I really enjoy live music, and I enjoy touring.
Right.
And I got along really good just doing front of house, not having the pressure of playing, not setting up anything, not... just going and making people sound fucking how they want to sound, how they want to come across. When their fans come up to them, it's like, oh my god, the kick drums just ripped my mind apart, and the guys are like, oh, we got great reviews about it. And I'm like, oh, cool, man. That's the same. It gives me the same exact feeling as being on stage and coming off and someone going, that was the best performance ever. And I'm like, oh, wow, fuck yeah, dude.
Nice.
So when someone comes up to the soundboard and is like, they sound so killer, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I realized that the dream for me wasn't playing necessarily. It's just being involved in the industry.
Right.
I really do love it, and I'm fortunate that I'm able to do it. I'm very fortunate. So now it's all gone, you know. So now we're all just sitting here with our thumbs up our asses. But I'm hopeful it'll get back to it, sooner than later.
Yeah, you and me both. All right, man.
Yeah.
I hate to cut you off, but we got to run.
All good.
Thank you so much for the conversation.
Man, you were great. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Good luck and stay safe, my friend.
No problem. Thank you, guys, and obviously shoot me an email whenever it's all up and ready.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely do that. Thanks, man. Take care.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye.
Welcome to my 120 seconds or less of Brutally Delicious. I'm Ash Leigh, and this week we're checking out MX the American. First off, they're from West Virginia, which in my opinion is the best Virginia, because that's where I'm from. And as big as they sound, I'm really disappointed in myself that it's taken me this long to add them into my playlist. Their sound is kind of like if Pantera, Rage Against the Machine, and I don't know, maybe like Santana had a baby. I don't know. I literally love every single song that I've listened to of theirs so far, and I like to think I'm like the grumpy bitch version of Simon Cowell. They have 9 albums out. They've opened for a lot of well-known bands like Megadeth, Motorhead, Slayer. Not too excited about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but it's still a huge accomplishment anyway. A couple of my favorites are War and Let It Out off their 10,000 Elephants album. It's definitely my favorite. I just wish it had more than 7 songs. All of their albums can be found anywhere you look, like Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube, and I definitely, absolutely think that it's worth adding to your playlist too. We'll catch you next time.